Hey guys, it's Phil from smilinggardener.com. If you haven't picked up my free online organic gardening course, you can do that right on the homepage of smilinggardener.com. Today I'm going to be doing some planting and seeding, so I'm going to show you three things. I'm going to show you seed bed preparation to make the soil ready. I'm going to show you sowing seeds, how to plant seeds, and planting vegetables, and just planting flowers and other small herbs and things like that. So three things today. What I will be using today is a hoe just to get those last weeds that have come up in the last couple of weeks. You can see behind me I have some members of the allium family, a few onions, a few garlic, that I could take out. It would make for a really nice clean bed, but I'd rather leave them in there because then I have just more biodiversity in the garden. The next important step here is to take the hard rake and level everything out. And the cool thing about doing that is when you do it, it's almost like you're tilling to 1/2 inch because you're just kind of lightly using the rake, and it makes a really nice place to put your seeds into. So that's what I'm going to do now, making everything nice and level. The mulch is on now, and you can see I actually put a reasonably thick layer. I just have to make sure wherever I put seeds that I don't have too thick of a layer of straw. Another thing I was going to mention is I like to water the garden before I plant. Not right before, because you don't want to be working in really mucky soil, but like an hour before or the night before. It really makes planting a lot easier. I'm kind of doing like a modified Three Sisters guild here, where I'm planting corn and beans and squash. It's a Native American method of planting these together for all the benefits that they bring each other. And there's actually a fourth sister called Cleome, so I'm going to plant a few Cleomes today. As I mentioned in my video last week, this corn is not ready to plant. It really needs another week or so to get a better root system. So I'm a little concerned it's going to fall apart when I plant, and well, I hope it doesn't. The reason I'm planting today, as I've said before as well, is that I'm heading out of town tomorrow for nearly 3 weeks. So I really have to get these things in today. I have to seed today, and I have to hope that when I get back that this stuff is all going to be alive. And to prepare the planting hole here, you could use a little trowel. One thing I often like to use is a fork, and I just kind of dig up the whole soil. Not too deep, but just deep enough to loosen everything. And that gives a nice planting bed, and it makes it really easy for me to plant with just my hands. You always want to remove the pot when you plant. I think that's pretty obvious for plastic, but even if you have any kind of burlap or fiber pot, or even like a biodegradable pot, as they might call it, you always want to remove it because it really doesn't want to be in there with the plant. I spray them with effective microorganisms and kelp, sea minerals, all these kind of biostimulants I've talked about on the root ball. You can spray the leaves too. And while I'm at it, I take a little bit of my mycorrhizal fungal powder. I just rub that onto the roots. Doesn't have to go everywhere. To plant it, now I can just dig with my hands basically, kind of remove the clumps, put it down in there, and with something like this, you just want the top of this to be level with the top of your soil, and then you want to fill it back in with the same soil that's already there. It doesn't look like that exciting of soil, but I know I amended it with compost about a month ago, so I know that it's in good shape. And same with the fertilizers I put in there. I really want to press it down. Not that I want to compact the soil, but it needs to have good soil around it. I'm going to plant 4 corns per hole, about 6 inches apart, just in a diamond shape. And that's one of the ways that the Three Sisters are put together like that. Gently, very gently, kind of squeeze on the bottom of the container and push the plant out. And you try not to pull on the stem other than just guiding it with the stem. Especially today, I have to be very careful. Yay! So we have a plant here. Now this was one of the taller ones, so it's probably going to have a better root system, but at least that came out in one piece. I don't need to spray this with any of my liquid or mycorrhizal fungi because I did that when I seeded, and I've been watering with the liquid throughout the week, so it's all ready to go. One corn down, 47 more to go. Now we're on to sowing seeds. And the first thing I do before I sow seeds, as I've said before, is I soak them first for about 6 to 12 hours in, it could be just water, but I usually include some liquid kelp and or some liquid sea minerals. And that's going to give the seeds some minerals for when they sprout. So they have all these trace minerals they need, and the kelp gives them some natural plant growth hormones that really help with that early germination and growing process. Here I have my pole bean seeds. These are what are going to climb up the corn and use the corn as a trellis. And these are my squash seeds. These big guys here are legumes like beans and peas. Do really well if they have their nitrogen fixing inoculant on them. There may be some of those bacteria in the soil, but there may not be. So if I just take a little bit of this inoculant, sprinkle it on, as I've shown you before. And the next one I can put on all the seeds is my mycorrhizal inoculant, which again is in a powder form. So I just sprinkle it on. I can put that on the cucumbers and squash as well. And now these are inoculated and they're gonna be that much happier. So I can dig a little hole with my fingers here to plant my seed, place it down in there, and just cover it up with nice powdery soil. So you almost wanna rub your soil between your fingers to make sure it's really nice and powdery. I could water these in now, but since I watered the garden before, I don't have to. So I'll actually water tomorrow, and then I'll be watering every day until these seeds germinate, and then it'll slowly decrease in the amount of watering I need to do. So if you have any questions about preparing a seed bed or planting vegetables or flowers or sowing seeds, ask them in the questions down below. If you haven't picked up my free online organic gardening course, you can do that down below. And you can come and join me and my sister over on Facebook at facebook.com/smilinggardener.